Yeah, good afternoon and welcome to Citizen AY. I know it's mid afternoon and I wanted to just touch base with you all. Beg your pardon, let me just make a few changes. Um, Hope you can see this. Let me know if you're seeing this. I'm just want to make sure I got the settings right. Sometimes these things don't happen. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's correct. So let's just check. I'm just trying to just check. Do let me know if you're getting the broadcast. You should be getting the broadcast from me as I speak right now. Let me just check if you can hear. Can you hear me? Got the settings right. Okay. Good afternoon to you all. I'm gonna try and just. I want to be on this platform for a while. Facebook are playing up a lot, so I want to be doing. I like I've said before. Um, Before my long prolonged absence due to health, a number of health issues which I've had to deal with. Um, Facebook are playing up a lot. I may go live on there, I may not. But if you're watching this and you are on YouTube, please, what I'd like you to do is help me share this broadcast. I'm not quite sure how long I'll probably be. I mean, I'm probably maybe no more than an hour to two on the broadcast. Um, and there's a few things I really want to us to go about to talk about and to look at, and I want to refresh our memory. It's very important that we refresh our memories. So I want to wait for a few minutes. I hope others can join me. Do leave comments. I do appreciate you. Um oh, okay. I see. I think I've got. I see what's happened here. June 12th and its ramifications is what I wanted to put there. So I'm going to just change the wording there. You might just see a few change in the wording as you see on the screen. If not, I will alter it afterwards. Either way, it is meant to say ramifications, not rasmifications. So let me just make the change to that as I'm talking to you as well. Um, One of the things that we need to really look at is there is a reason why June 12th must be something that we have to refresh our minds about. June 12, 1993 was the day of the elections that was annulled by none other than Babangida. And I'm going to read you some statements and things, and I'll show you some videos, and I'll show you the background to why we are where we are now. Now I know it may not those who've been through it, those who've been lying to us, they know what they've done. But I'm hoping that by refreshing the memory of the coming generation and the young ones of today, maybe that would give them a clear reason why we have to go for a referendum now. This reason I'm hoping to be able to expose and explain the need for us to be able to say, for this particular reason, the reason why we're going for a referendum now is because June 12th was a demonstration of a military oppression by those in power. We are not, we remain a military imposition government. This is nothing, there is nothing democratic about the process. And I'm hoping by the end of discussing this and talking to you about it, this will be able to make some sense. I may do half an hour to an hour. I'm still not fully recovered. I'm better. I had COVID for the last 10, 15 days, and believe you me, it was not fun. It has not been fun on top of the chronic pain. But put that to one side. This is a serious issue that we're looking at. If you saw what happened yesterday, if you saw what Buhari was doing yesterday, they have now finally proscribed the bandits. Finally, after how many months? Now, how long did it take them to proscribe IPOB, who were not killing anybody? They were protecting the people. The double, can you see the bias and the nepotism and and the sheer injustice. Those are those are good enough reasons why we must all speak up. We have to speak up. Now, like I said, if you're watching on YouTube, please do share this broadcast. I appreciate that I have not been coming to live of late because owing to health reasons, and if you're not well, you shouldn't really come live. You need to make sure that I'm okay and I'm back, and that's why I've been doing that. So I do apologize if I have not, if you haven't seen me, uh, you know, uh, on a live broadcast. It's not for lack of trying. It's just because the situation of things, the nature of things as it is, I have not been physically able to do so. So if you're watching this broadcast, I'd very much like it if you can subscribe to Citizen AY. I'd very much like it if you can subscribe to Citizen AY. 1 second, please. Let me just check something here. I'm just trying to check what's going on. Okay. Yeah. Okay, 1 second, please. So I'd very much like it if you can subscribe to us on YouTube. Facebook, they are playing all manner of games, and we're not sure for 1 minute to the next what they're doing, but it doesn't matter. What I will do, I will try and either share this later on if I can on Facebook. Facebook, for some reason, they keep blocking me. I've got so many issues with Facebook that it is pointless to do anything other than just use other platforms, which is why I am constantly urging you to please subscribe to Citizen AY on YouTube. I'd really, really appreciate your help and support in this particular process, so that we can actually get this message out there. It's very, very important. So far I can see a steady, just a few people here watching, and that's okay. Like I said, we don't need too many people on board, especially if they, what we want is people who are going to be engaged and pass this message on. So I'm not in a rush. It is not. It is for us to get this information out there, and make people aware of what is really going on. What has been happening so far has been and remains an exercise in trickery, an exercise in lying to people and hoping to use that as a way to get them to do your bidding. Our eyes have been covered for too long by the contraption. So what we're hoping to do at this point is hopefully that when you get this message, you will be able to share it and talk to people about it. If it doesn't show up on Facebook, it doesn't show up. It doesn't matter. It's going to be on here. I will try and come back again and do it again on the Dua TV radio at some point later on. But now, let's go into it now. The most important thing in all of this is I want you to look at the wording. If you go on to Google, I want you to go and look at the wording. See? Right, good. See? I want you to look at this picture here. Let me see. Can I make that? Yeah. Is that possible to move it somewhere else? I can't. I'm going to try and move it, but I don't know if it will let me. So the picture that you saw there, let me see. The picture, I want you to just see the picture. That is the picture. Oh, man. Okay, let me go back up. Good. Okay. So you can see the picture behind me. That's a picture of Babangida, Badamasi Babangida, or, whatever they call themselves. He served as a military president of Nigeria from 1985 to 1993. Now, they agreed to have elections in 1993. That was the agreement. After all the killings and everything else that was going on, and the illegal hijacking of the governance of the nation. Now, the reason I'm showing you that picture, I'm going to go and read something to you. And this is why I said June 12 and its ramifications till date. The reason why I'm doing that, let's go and read what it says in Google. It says here, presidential elections were held in Nigeria on June 12, 1993. The first since the 1983 military coup that ended the Second Republic, i.e. when they took over, hijacked the Shagari government, when they took it over and imposed themselves. Yes. Now, the elections were the outcome of a transitional process to civilian rule spearheaded by the military ruler. Notice the word military ruler, Ibrahim Babangida. The unofficial result of election, though not declared by the National Electoral Commission, NEC, indicated a victory for Korshashimawu Olawale Abiola of the Social Democratic Party, who defeated Bashir Tofa of the National Republic Convention. The winner of the elections was thus never declared, as elections were annulled by IBB. Who is IBB? This man. That is who IBB is. So, the reason I'm doing this is because I'm going to probably come back and do it again for a little bit on Facebook at some point. But I just wanted to just show you the chronology of events so you understand that this man was effectively the judge and jury on our democracy. And based on the lie that he told, we remain not a democracy till date. Now let us listen to what he said. Listen to his words as he annulled the elections. He never allowed the National Electoral Commission, the NAC, he never allowed them to release the results. Now, if you are going to say you're a democracy, the body that would announce the results should have independence. They should not have interference from the military government. Let's not forget the military, they hijacked the civilian rule by overthrowing the Shagari governance. If you all recall, this is how all this happened. That's what brought him into power. They annulled. And let's not forget, there is an issue about the president. We all know about UPN and MPN. We all know that that election was actually, in many respects, it's generally accepted that it was won by UPN, but handed to MPN. That's another story altogether. We'll come back to that later on. But what I'm trying to focus on now, I'm going to play a video, and I want you to watch that video. Let's have a look at this. 1 second. I'm going to play you a video. I'm going to try and come back and be doing more broadcasts as I can, but physically it's all about health issues and trying to make sure that's okay, that works fine, and that I'm able to do it. Now, what I want you to look at in all of this is this. I want you to remember that the National Electoral Commission, what is now known as the Independent National Electoral Commission, was controlled by the military at that time, and the INEC right now as we speak are still controlled by the military. Very, very important to understand. Now let's listen to how IBB annulled the elections. And he himself said the elections was generally accepted to be free and fair. So why truncate it? And what he did not provide any evidence. He just said, oh, there was elections prior to, there was fraud prior to elections. He did not provide any evidence. Listen, let's get it out. Listen to this. I want you to listen. Listen closely. Listen. I will play back.
It is true that the presidential election was generally seen to be free, fair, and peaceful. However, there was in fact a huge array of electoral malpractices virtually in all the states of the Federation before the actual voting began.
It is incredible. In view of all this, I find the conclusion unfortunate but inescapable that the federal military government is guilty of bad faith.
Now, exactly. That was the immediate response of the late MK Abiola to the annulment of the elections. But let's go back to the beginning again. I want you to listen to the words of Babangida, the self-styled, the man who imposed himself on the people as the general, the ruler. He's not elected, he's the ruler. He made himself the ruler above us in our own land. Remember, there was no election to elect them into office. They imposed themselves. Now let's listen again.
It is true that the presidential election was generally seen to be free.
You see, the general election was generally seen to be free, fair, and peaceful. His words, not mine. His words. So why interrupt it? Could it be because the result was not going your way and you wanted to control and take over and impoverish us till date? Because since June 12, 1993, millions of Southerners have suffered at the hands of the military and are continuing to suffer at the hands of the military till date. We are not a democracy. We are not a democracy. And this is why we, at this point, are calling for a referendum. The National Electoral Commission, what is now known as the Independent National Electoral Commission, has never been a truly independent body. The one time they had the chance, the people voted en masse. The freest and fairest elections coming from the lips of Babangida remained that election in June 12, 1993. Any election since that date has never been free nor fair nor peaceful. This is why we have to go back for and continue to demand for referendum as Southerners. Listen to his words again.
It is true that the presidential election was generally seen to be free, fair, and peaceful. However, there was in fact a huge array of electoral malpractices virtually in all the states of the Federation before the actual voting began.
It is incredible. In view of all this, I find the conclusion unfortunate but inescapable that the federal military government is guilty of bad faith, pure and simple. No one has accused me of any offense against any known electoral law or regulation. The people of this country went to polls on Saturday, June 12, 1993, and without let or hindrance chose me as their president. Didn't they?
So, Saturday, June 12, 1993, we all as Northerners and Southerners chose MK Abiola as our president. This man who imposed himself as a ruler on us all did not like the choice of the people. Hence, he decided to annul the elections because the elections did not go his way. He did not go the way he wanted. He imposed his will on the people. This is the same man that every one of those who now talk about democracy reveres as a man to be respected. A man that truncates the elections that has impacted the lives of millions of Nigerians is not a man that should be lofted high, that should be praised. His actions are that of a dictator and a ruler, a man who has no interest in your benefit or your future as a citizen. That is why I wanted to do this broadcast. I'll be back later on. If you do get the broadcast, do share it. But I wanted to just bring this to your attention. I wanted to just touch on this because it's important we talk about these things as we go ahead. I will be back later on Facebook somehow, if I can, and do a broadcast. But I wanted to just touch on this because it's very, very important what is being done, that we understand that we are not a democracy and we must continue to rescue ourselves. Nobody, the international community is not going to come and rescue us. They stood by the side as the military killed MKO Abiola. Do not wait for the United Nations to rescue us from this hellhole that we are in. We are not a democracy. We are not operating a democratic process. This is a military imposition. The June 12, 1993 was where the voice of the people has been silenced. We need to go back to the June 12, 1993 and give back the people, get back our voices as people. And from there we decide and go for a referendum. We go for a referendum. This man is not a man that we should praise. This is a man that hijacked our fledgling democracy at the time. And since then, we have never had a democracy. So I want to urge you all, those of you watching or will watch later on, please go and please ensure you share this broadcast. It's very, very important. I do once again want to apologize that I've not been coming on broadcast on a regular basis as I would normally have. But because of health issues, I've had to pull back and not do that. But nonetheless, I thank you all for following and working with Citizen AY and others, Mayogun, Yomi Koiki, and all of that. We are all in this together. And I want you to just say that you have a role in what we're doing now. Your role is to spread this message that we must go, we demand a referendum. As we speak now, right now, Nigeria is not a democracy. From the minute that Babangida annulled the elections till as we speak, which is on the 5th of, I believe the 5th or the 6th of January 2022, Nigeria is still not a democracy. It is until we go back and we get a referendum and the people's voices are heard via a referendum. That is when we will begin we can unlock the chains in which they've placed the citizens and the nation. For we are under lock and key. We are not in a democracy. A government that refuses to proscribe terrorists and only at the last minute says they proscribe, and their actions belies their words. They might tell you that they're proscribing them. How many of the Fulani terrorists, the Mieti Allah Boko Haram, how many of them have been arrested? So we have a lot of work to do. I wanted to just touch by and say this. Listen to his words again, and we'll probably listen to this to the end. I want you to listen to his words again. I want you to listen to his words. The first words from the lips of the man himself. He agrees that the elections were free, fair, and peaceful. So why go and dismantle what was free, fair, and peaceful and impose this fraud on us till date? He's not a man to be praised. He is a man to be exposed for truncating our democracy, for hijacking our democracy, for impoverishing millions as a result of his actions till date.
It is true that the presidential election was generally seen to be free, fair, and peaceful. However, there was in fact a huge array of electoral practices virtually in all the states of the Federation before the actual voting began.
It is incredible. In view of all this, I find the conclusion unfortunate but inescapable that the federal military government is guilty of bad faith, pure and simple. No one has accused me of any offense against any known electoral law or regulation. The people of this country went to polls on Saturday, June 12, 1993, and without let or hindrance chose me as their president. Didn't they?
Exactly. Just remember, he annulled our elections. He is not a man to be praised. He annulled elections where millions of people exercised their democratic right. He now imposed his fraud of a fraudulent constitution, of fraudulent division of states that nobody authorized him, gave the power to. He has silenced the voice. Him, you and me, to join forces, to join our hands together, raise and demand that our voice be heard via a referendum. What we have now is not a democracy. It is a fraud. We don't have a democracy. So I bring that to your attention, and I want you all to please assist and join in making this known. When you get this broadcast, listen to it from the beginning. I'm not going to stay too much longer on. Facebook have been doing they're doing all their trickery as usual, and I'm not at all surprised by their actions. But what I'd like you to do is when you get this broadcast, please, of course, share it, make people aware, help raise the level of awareness about this broadcast. June 12 and its ramifications till date is what the broadcast is saying. You've seen that Buhari has now, after how many months, now finally proscribed the bandits. In the meantime, the bandits have killed remorselessly. Not one of them have been arrested, and if they are arrested, they are simply pardoned and released to go and kill in different towns and different villages across the south. So, I am stating this again. I want you to go and listen to the words. Here, the evidence, this is where our nation has been destroyed from the foundation. Until we fix this collectively as Southerners and demand for a referendum, there will be no democracy in Nigeria, because we are not a democracy. The actions of a military man in annulling the voice, the elections that people, North and South, participated in, the action of that man has costed us dear. 1 second, please. Let me just do something. So it's only left for me now. I'm going to just... 1 second, please. Somebody's... 1 second, please. 1 second. Yeah, yes. Okay, we'll do. Bye. Okay, so, yeah. So before I wrap it up, I don't know if it's possible. Before I wrap it up, I will try. But what I want you all to do, I'm going to play. Good afternoon to you all and welcome. And those of you watching, I have been away for a while owing to medical health issues that I've had to deal with, and I'm just barely recovering from COVID. 10 days of severe COVID. I'm still not fully recovered, but I wanted to touch base after the video of Buhari yesterday, where he's now finally proscribed the bandits, but he's even making excuses. And these people, they're telling us to believe in the Constitution. And I'm bringing us back to the foundation of that fraud. The entire nation is a fraud. From June 12, 1993 till date, we have never had a democracy. And here's why. I want you to listen to the words of this man. Listen to Babangida. This is not a man that we should praise. I don't say that lightly. Babangida is not a man that we should praise. Babangida is a man that prevented the voice of the people from being heard, the decision of the people from being heard. The people decided to vote in elections between Tofa and MK Abiola. Overwhelmingly, Northerners and Southerners collectively voted for Abiola, and Babangida annulled the elections because the vote did not go the way he wanted. He ignored the will of the people. The will of the people is their voice via ballot box. Ballot box. He silenced us. Until date, we are suffering the effects of that fraud, the annulment till date. We have got underdevelopment, lack of infrastructure, hardship, poverty, destruction, death, no safety. We have to speak truth to power, no matter whose all is God. We need to speak. This is not about being rude. We are talking about facts. We are being factual. Listen to his words. He admitted himself that the elections were free, fair, and peaceful. His words. Listen again.
It is true that the presidential election was generally seen to be free, fair, and peaceful. However, there was in fact a huge array of electoral practices virtually in all the states of the Federation before the actual voting began.
So in virtually of the states of the Federation, there were malpractices. So that justifies him deciding to prevent people's voices to be heard. The people voted, and he decided to be judge and jury. He silenced the National Electoral Commission from releasing the results. What would have been, and he did not provide a single shred of evidence to back up his flimsy statements. And yet people are telling us that he's a man to be revered. We have to be honest. Let's talk to ourselves. We need to speak to ourselves. We have never been a democracy, and we are still not a democracy until we go back. At this point, I call on every right-thinking Southerner and Northerners, if you so believe in true democracy, to stand up. Join us in the struggle and the clamor for a referendum. The referendum where the people's voices will be heard. As we speak, there is no independence. There was no independence for the National Electoral Commission then, and there is still no independence for the so-called quote-unquote independent National Electoral Commission now. They are all mouthpieces for those in government, the military, who imposed this fraudulent constitution on you and I. Since June 12, 1993, the hopes, the bright future of millions of citizens has been trampled upon by the fraud that was imposed on us by their actions, direct actions, the direct illegal actions of Babangida. We need to speak truth to power. This is not about abusing anybody. We are citizens. If you tell us that we're a democracy, of the democracy, when the very people, the voice of the people, you silenced, you imposed a fraudulent constitution, you imposed states where the people had no say in the states you created. And then you cemented that fraud by imposing a fraudulent constitution where there was no referendum, where the people voted en masse for. Till date, there has been no referendum on the constitution that has been imposed on us by the military. That is why we need to go for a referendum. I hope you will agree with me by me placing this at discussion and this discussion and talking to you as you're watching. I hope you do share this broadcast. Please subscribe to Citizen AY. Go ahead and subscribe. I want you to play this back. I want you to play back and just if you don't hear anything else, listen to the first sentence coming out from the mouth of Babangida himself, and you will know that even he knows that he accepts that the election was free and fair, but then he's now inserted, there were malpractices. He said it himself. And who gave him the power to override the will of the people? Remember, he's a military man who imposed himself on the people. And when the people spoke, he silenced us. That is why we have never been in a democracy till date. I hope you will agree with me. I hope you will reason with my submission to you today. That we have to call for, we have to clamor in unison as Southerners. And if some Northerners want to join us, they are welcome to join and clamor for it. But we in the South, we must go for a referendum. We must continue to demand for a referendum because our voices have never been heard since June 12, 1993. The voice of the people have been silenced since June 12, 1993. I stand on that truth. And I'm sure you will support me and you agree with me that our truth has been silenced by the fraudulent governance dressing themselves up to be democratic when in fact they are authoritarian, autocratic, they are military impositions, denying people's voice, their voice to be heard about who they chose. The people of that contraption we know as Nigeria, Northerners and Southerners, voted for MKO Abiola on June 12, 1993. Let me show you something before. I'll play the video again, listen to his words. Then I'll read you something.
It is true that the presidential election was generally seen to be free, fair, and peaceful. However, there was in fact a huge array of electoral practices virtually in all the states of the Federation.
You see, virtually in all the states. He's talking about malpractices, right? Let me show you the hypocrisy. Let me show you the hypocrisy of this man. He's telling you about malpractices, right? Now, let me go and show you something. Let me bring you something up. And I want you to look at this. Now, this is a man that's talking about malpractices in virtually all the states. Now, I want you to, give me a minute, please. I'm hoping this will come up. I hope it will come up. There is something he needs to explain to us. Who gave him the power in 1993 to create the states he created? Now, let me go into it for you to show you the sheer hypocrisy of the men, of the likes of this kind of men, the sheer hypocrisy. It's now. We need to know, he annulled the elections in 1993, right? Good. You will all agree with me. Now, let us go and look at what he did here. In 1991, he increased the number of... Who gave him the power? Who gave him the power to do so? Was there any votes? Was there a referendum by the people that said, okay, fine, we are prepared to, we'll agree for you to create? Was there anything? He said some people said. Millions of people. And this is by the same man who's now saying when the people's voice now spoke, he ignored their voice. Look, let me show you. I'm going to show, I'm trying to get to there. Yeah, here we go. These are the states he single-handedly created on August 27, 1991, without consulting the people. And this is the man that is telling you that, he's talking about democracy. It is a sham. It is a sham. Now, let me show you something. Read this one. This is in Google. This is in Google. Presidential elections were held in Nigeria June 12, 1993. The first since 1983 coup, military coup. Military coup. Remember, again, a coup, generally people who appoint themselves to be the ones they see themselves as the people who are in control. They take power from the people and they deny us our rights. People are killed, extrajudicial killings going on under military coup, and nobody has gone to jail for it. That is the effect. That is why I'm telling you we are not a democracy. Now listen to this. The unofficial result of the election, though not declared by the National Electoral Commission, indicated a victory for Moshood Kashimawo Olawale Abiola, Social Democratic Party, who defeated Bashir Tofa of the National Republic Convention. If you are so sure about democracy, you would have allowed this result to come out, and people can go state by state to have contested the areas you felt there was any fraud. But what you did to annul, sweeping across the state, You abrogated yourself absolute power above millions of people. Their right to democracy, you trampled upon it. That is what you have done. That is what you have done. So we do not, this is the real winner of the elections. May so rest in peace. The real winner. And until we go back, we do not have a democracy. I stand on this 1000%. Without going back and getting a referendum from here on. Any elections, no elections since the June 1993 elections has been free and fair. I stand on this, and I stand till the day I will leave this earth. There has been no elections that has been free and as fair and as peaceful as the June 1993 elections, in which both Northerners and Southerners collectively chose this man you see in the picture, that this man did not agree with. You do not have the right to speak for the people. You, as a president, had to only present what the people told you. This is what the people have said. We accept it. Instead, you imposed on the people. Can you see the difference? When you impose on the people, that is not a democracy. That is an autocracy. That is a dictatorship. And that is what has been displayed till date. I put it to everybody watching me right now that contraption is not a democracy. And until we go back to June 12, 1993 and redress it, and the best way we can do that is to go and call for and demand for a referendum. A referendum where the voice of the people will finally be heard. Our voice has been silenced since June 12, 1993 till date. The people of contractual Nigeria don't have a voice. A referendum will be the point at which we can have a voice if we decide if we want to be part of the contraption or we go our own way. And we have every right. We have the right to self-determination. We are tired of an imposition. The governance that we have now, the constitution that we have now, the states that we have now were all imposition by the military. And we mustn't relent. I urge you all. This is a task that we must take on. As I'm going to add one more thing. We should not let the 2023 elections take place with this constitution in place. It is a fraud. It is an imposition. Because the foundation of the constitution is what I am telling you now. The foundation of that constitution was June 12, 1993, the fraud, the annulment. The annulment of the June 12, 1993 elections is the foundation of this constitution. And we cannot, and that is the evidence that we are not a democracy. Because they stole away from Abiola his mandate, and they killed him. And nobody has paid the price for the death of a man that won the elections till date. So we are not a democracy. Let us be very, very clear about that. Whatever else they're telling you, let us be very, very clear about that. I am very, very passionate about this, and I will speak about this. The coming generation, I am doing and what others are doing. I'm not doing it for me. Let me be very, very clear. The coming generation, they deserve to have infrastructure, healthcare, water, light, road, schools, bridges, healthcare, safety and security, none of which has been provided since the truncating of the June 12 elections till date. Every opportunity that the people had from that elections has been snatched away by the military, who have imposed this fraudulent constitution and the division of states and imposition it again on millions of citizens. This is why I'm asking you all, call for a referendum in unison. The only way to resolve this, any elections in 2023 is yet another fraud. I tell you categorically that the so-called quote-unquote independent National Electoral Commission is not independent.